The bounty hunters. This can't be good, Airfar says as he looks outside to the streets below. It's not. The Gravids aren't normally this aggressive. Something's going on. Onyx remarks, looking down. A religious purge, maybe? They might be looking to take the entire section for themselves, Airfar asks, and Onyx frowns before turning on the privacy mode. You have a plan? A bit of a change of clothes, and you sticking right next to me will get us everything we need, she remarks before taking down the shuttle and frowning as she once more can't find a place to park. Go and change, although do realize that whatever you're getting into, I'm helping you get out of later, Airfar says, and Onyx's smile is all the answer he needs for how well received that bit of news is. The massive predator woman slips into the back, and there's the sound of ruffling as Airfar searches for a place to set down. The place is utterly packed and the populations are absurd. There's also a borderline uniform going on. It's all thigh-high boots, squeezing them tight with a push-up corset to exaggerate the already absurd proportions of non-human women, most in white, and the skirts are more belts with clearly visible underwear. However, over the skirts are devices that, even at a distance, he can recognize as shield belts, functional anti-laser and plasma armor. They're ready for a fight, Airfar mutters before a gloved hand tipped by claws wraps around his shoulders. Massive breasts press into him from behind as Onyx leans over him, now dressed like the women in the crowd. It's an army, she says plainly. But what kind? A purging army? A conversion crusade? An exterminating jihad? Can't be the first or the last one. The station masters would lose all patience with them and open all the airlocks. They've vented entire sections before. How do you know? I've been talking to some of the girls. A few of the Hat's new friends had big sisters who survived only because they were in armor when the riots in the brawl yards boiled over. Their suits are atmospherically sealed and pressurized. 2 hours of nothingness and they closed the locks and then started cycling in spare air. The station masters churned all the dead bodies into mulch and used them to fertilize the biodecks. Sounds more like a horror story. We might see one up close if we can't figure this madness out, Onyx says as Airfar finds a place to land. It could just be a festival of some kind. Not likely, not unless I'm very wrong about what the date is, Onyx says as Airfar sets the shuttle down. All right, what are the rules for doing this without having to shoot someone? Speak to me first about everything. If someone talks to you, ask me for permission. If someone grabs at you, call to me. If you need to do anything, it goes through me. No one sees your skin and I'll do everything for you, understand? Onyx says. And Airfar tilts his head as she can't see his expression through the mask. How do you know so much about the Gravids? He asks as she runs Axiom through her fur and it shifts from jet black and bright yellow highlights to a slightly off-white with bright blue highlights. She looks like an entirely different Canador. How? Gravids are not a single group of loonies. I was helped out by a different sect when I was younger. They helped me out of a tight spot and taught me how to shift my fur tones. All in all, the less aggressive sects are a good place to hide. They offer a few forms of witness protection, such as the false lists. They give you a fake ID after putting you through a healing coma and shelter you for a few years and then let you leave after you pretend to be waiting for a husband. Most Gravids are actually pretty benign. Out here, though, this sect, as hardline as any I've ever encountered before. The friendliest ones run nurseries, preschools, and make wonderful midwives. Onyx explains and Airfar nods. You ready for this? Hopefully, he answers and she smiles. Remember, let me do the talking, she says and he nods. In fact, hold on to my tail, it'll make this much easier. Gotcha, love, Airfar says with a wink nearly audible in his tone. Just try not to get kidnapped, she says, and the door opens to the outside. She leads him out, and with the puff at the end of her tail in his hand, he follows her out into an ocean of pushed-up breasts and bubble butts. Come along, beloved. Let's find out what my sisters and Faith are up to, Onyx bids him as the shuttle door closes behind them. This should just be a quick visit, don't want to let our friends down after all. Cindy would be so disappointed if I did. Yes, beloved. Airfarce answers and she starts weaving through the crowds with practiced ease. A few groping hands has him rush up to be right beside Onyx and clutch at her belt in seeming nervousness as her tail wraps further around him along the waist. She gives a withering glare backwards and whoever it was decides not to challenge her. She puts a hand on his shoulder and continues to walk forward with a minimum of swaying. Even so, he still has to scramble a little for her to not knock him clean over as she still saunters even when not trying to. Just as he gets into a pattern to match her movements, she suddenly stops. Dearest mother, blessed mother of many, I too am a mother and shall soon be a mother of more. I ask of you from one bearing life to another, what is happening here this day? The alien Onyx is talking to is another type of spider woman, different from the Archna, who are spider centaurs, and Arcana, that are women shaped like spiders. This being seems to be sitting on a spider, as if the second half of her body was merely some kind of mount. A third configuration? Whichever way it is, she's clearly heavily pregnant and wearing a very happy look as she takes in Onyx and him. A wonderful day it is, she chimes happily. How is the family, dear Gravid's sister? I have the father of my children here with me. My eldest daughter is caring for the rest of the family at home and dearest friends are elsewhere on business. Onyx technically doesn't lie, but wow, that was a misleading explanation. Rather bold to bring out your husband with you, are you not concerned he would be taken? Darling, I'm a Canador. You'd need a crimson hewer to pry him away from me and I'd make her bleed to try. Onyx purrs and then the spider woman's eyes flicker ever so, causing Onyx to turn and growl at a younger looking version of the Gravid she's talking with to back away. I apologize for my daughter. There's a tragic dearth of men on this station and she's growing less and less picky, less appropriate as well, the Gravid says and Onyx nods. I understand. Seeing the sheer potential of a husband, no matter the species, in front of a desperate woman is too great a temptation for many. Thank you for your patience. I am Mother Mailer, High Priestess of the local church of the Gravid Mother. It's been my honor and privilege to have been pregnant more than 90% of my life. Mailer boasts, and behind his mask, Airfarce's jaw drops. Holy hell. The church's babysitting and nanny services must be amazing for her to feel boastful and not worn clean through the bone after an announcement like that. I can't match that. I started far too late and will have to live a great deal longer. However, I have started. Onyx boasts. A little disappointing. To be properly called Gravid, you must have been pregnant for at least half your life. Alas, in this station of sin and drought, there's simply not enough. What husbands there are have been pushed to their limits and assigned their sacred century of brides, yet still so many go without. A true pity, Onyx replies. Alas, all the men I know of are as wed as they will ever be and are fulfilling their sacred callings to their utmost. I'm just taking a day with my adorable little Bravo, just him and me in a place a bit more holy than others and just breathing in that purer air, you know? What did you have to do to get him away from all your sister wives? I don't to bore you with the details, Mother Mailer. Not when you're in the middle of... I do beg your pardon, Mother, but what are you in the middle of? Onyx asks. Young Mother, we are merely making our numbers known, for soon we shall march upon the defiled and impure sectors and liberate the abused men that lay there. I've seen the images, men forced to battle in the pits, men kidnapped by common ruffians, men being used as mere decoration. No, the calling of men is a holy and wonderful thing. It is their purpose to grant us daughters and sons. Daughters and sons. The crowd cheers and Airfarce both grabs on tight to Onyx and starts charging himself with Axiom. He has a few flash grenades if they absolutely need it. And we shall purify the filthy stagnant waters of the first deck, where they attempt to drown their men for punishment. Above her, a still image of Dong being dragged out of his walking sub by Murs the Lydris. His eyes are bugging out as he looks panicked. Bring about order to the sands of the second deck, where they force men to battle for their pleasure. This time the damning display was of the Hat vs Vexa, with his mocking outfit this time giving the image a very, very dark-looking twist with her commentary. We shall sweep through to the third deck and bring light to the speech is cut off by a thin beam of red light burrowing through Mother Mailer's head as a plasma bolt slams into and detonates her pregnant stomach, shattering the lobotomized woman. The crowd screams. Adrenaline pumps with Axiom following right through Airfarce's veins, and he shifts his grip. It's time to move. "Sniper! Get to cover!" He screams for all he can, heaves up with his shoulder, and Fireman carries Onyx at a dead sprint through the crowd. His stride leaves dents in the plating, and they reach the shuttle in seconds. He all but tears the door open, forces Onyx inside, locks it shut, and takes off at the fastest burn he can manage without slamming into the surrounding vehicles and buildings. All units in the field, this is Airfarce. We've got snipers in Section 1. A major religious figure has just been terminated. Be on the alert at all times. I repeat, enemy snipers in the sector. Be on high alert at all times. Get to cover, people. He barks into an emergency, all calm. Frequency, his voice echoing out from every chainbreaker communicator and every internal speaker on the ship itself. "We're going to ground and keeping people down. Still at the pagoda," Bike barks back. "Ich kann meine Gedanken per Communicator senden? Erstaunlich." Hold back on the German there, Bike. "Soldier, give me the basics. Who? What? Where? When? Why? How?" Pukey demands in a stern but otherwise calm tone. "I got this. You steer us straight," Onyx says, scrambling into the co-pilot seat. High Priestess of the conservative Gravids, Mother Mailer was just assassinated no more than a minute ago. We were in the middle of the mid-level public square, and she was in the middle of a speech about an intended purification of the nearby sectors. She was killed first by a high-precision laser blast to the head, and as it struck, it was immediately followed by an explosive plasma bolt to her heavily pregnant stomach. A terror attack and massive insult on a spiritual level to the Gravids. This could start a fucking holy war on the station. All right, priority 1 is the safety of our crew. Get to Bike's and Tang's position. Have them share their expertise in person. Scaly, Cindy and I will be evacuating the nearby civilians into whatever cover we can. Stay alive, people. That's a direct order.